Alright, everybody, prediction time. Now, minor spoiler, and not that I'm trying to jump the gun or anything, but I think this could end up being my best prediction video so far. And you'll quickly see why, because I'm going to actually be doing a lot more in this prediction video than I've ever done in previous prediction videos, for a couple reasons. Number one, it's Death Battle doing Bleach. Number two, because of all the universes I've ever power scaled, Bleach is one of those universes that I know so well. I watch Bleach lore videos almost daily, and I've gotten to a point where I can pretty much power scale Bleach in my sleep. And I think I've been doing my research, I've been doing my homework, and I think this is going to come along very well, but let's not waste any time and get into it. So, Ichigo versus Yusuke. Now, I know I gave a lot of my thoughts in my rant about what I think of this matchup, and I will likely go into further detail when the eventual review comes out and Fallout, but this, I'm just going to try to focus on my actual prediction. Now, you know that there's usually two ways I look at Death Battle prediction videos. Number one, who I think is going to win based on the facts and evidence, and number two, who I think will win based on Death Battle shenanigans. And I'm going to do that here. So, the first thing I want to establish right out the gate is the strength of these two characters. And don't worry, I'm not gonna go full balls deep into it like I do in my debunking videos. I'm going to make it very short and to the point, because I think that some people have a tendency of overcomplicating power scaling. So I am going to leave these short little explanations here, and then I will give my further analysis on this.
How strong is Ichigo? Let's break it down. Hell in Bleach has 4 layers. Each one is higher than the last one in a hierarchical sense, making it 6 deep. But Hell is actually smaller than the world of the living, Wako Mundo, and the Soul Society. So those realms are inherently 7-dimensional. The Soul Society even has the Mutant, an infinite-sized prison, backing up the higher dimensional scaling. But it doesn't stop there. The Gorgonta contains all these realms and is infinite in size, making it infinite 8th dimensional. And Ichigo, he damaged Yuha, who can destroy an entire cosmology, putting them both at 8th dimensional. For speed, Ichigo traveled from the Royal Palace to the Soul Society, 2 separate dimensions, giving him immeasurable speed by definition.
How fast is Soul Society Ichigo? The lieutenants are able to dodge the Nagashon, which is repeatedly said both in and out versus to be light. It took the Ray 1.29 seconds to travel. Yusuke took 0.10 seconds to dodge. 1.29 divided by 0.10 equals 12.9 times the speed of light. Ichigo is able to blitz them, making him at least 6.86 times faster, or 88.4 times the speed of light. And with Bankai, he is 10 times stronger, or 884.9 times the speed of light, or massively faster than the speed of light.
How strong is Yusuke Urameshi actually? Let's get started. Now for AP, he scales above characters like Sensui, who is stated to be able to destroy the planet with his aura alone, as he flat out states, "I can't even use 1/5 of my full strength. It causes too much stress to the planet," which would mean that anything more than 20% of his full power threatens to destroy the planet. Yusuke later on is able to have his potential unlocked after his possession by his ancestor Ryzen, and easily dispatches a Sensui. Genkai even states herself that if Yusuke wanted to, he could blow up the planet with little issue. As for speed, early on in the series, characters like Hiei were able to dodge the Spirit Gun, which has properties of light, as is portrayed as a beam of light and is able to bounce off of mirrors, as well as Hiei is able to dodge Mukuro's Rays of Light's attack. So in conclusion, Yusuke's AP is planetary, DC at continental speed, relativistic to faster than light, with hacks such as stats amplification, mind manipulation resistance, and limited attack reflection.
Yeah, needless to say, Ichigo is gonna bully the fuck out of Yusuke, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So, let's recap a little bit of everything I just showed. So we got Yusuke, who is definitely stronger than some people might think. It looks like Ben Singer was vindicated a little bit, because back then when they did Naruto vs. Ichigo, he was swearing up and down that Yu Yu Hakusho characters should be planet level based on some statements in the anime and manga, Well, it looks like he may not have been entirely bullshitting, because I remember back then a lot of people were laughing at Death Battle saying, what are you talking about, bro? They're like maybe continental at best. So it looks like he wasn't bullshitting, and from what I can gather, Yusuke is also FTL because he was able to dodge Rays of Light, Photon Blast, that would be FTL. However, though, looking at Ichigo over here, remember how I told you that Ichigo is Universal Plus with Low Ball? Did you think that I was fucking around when I was saying that? If you were to lowball Ichigo, but actually not do so in the way that the Naruto fans like to do it, where they're just dishonest. Like, Ichigo, when you actually delve deep into Bleach power scaling, is so much more powerful than people think. Like I said, with lowball, he is Universal Plus, but Ichigo is likely far, far more powerful than that when you look at the larger size of the overall Bleach cosmology, which we're starting to get a better understanding of. And like I said, Ichigo is more powerful than characters like Senjumaru, who can shake the three realms simply just by releasing her Bankai. Hell, in comparison, you got characters like Yamamoto, whose Bankai is so powerful, it can erase all of Soul Society from existence just by him using it. But here's something to keep in mind, and some people don't know this about Bleach, but it's something you should know. In Bleach, there are these little things in the wrists of all Soul Reapers and all spiritual beings in Bleach, where they are basically like these little power rings. They are the sources for spiritual pressure and power output. And if you are to ever lose, say, an arm like Yamamoto did, well, you actually lose 50% of your strength. So that means when Yamamoto fought fake Yuha, he was actually operating with only 50% of his overall strength. And even with only 50% of his true power, when he used his Bankai, he still had to heavily suppress its power and not use it for too long, otherwise he would have erased all of Soul Society from existence. And that's just Yamamoto. And then, of course, you got Yuha, who actually became the frickin' Soul King. He is the Soul King's son. He killed the Soul King, absorbed his power, and he was literally stating that I am going to erase the entire Bleach cosmology and remake it from scratch, which is something the Soul King can absolutely do because he created the cosmology, so it stands to reason that he would be able to reset it. And Bleach and Ichigo is on the same level as Soul King Yuha, because Ichigo is a Soul King potential himself. So both Ichigo and Yuha are on the same level as the being that created the entire Bleach cosmology. Like I said, even if you want to lowball Ichigo, that would make him at the very least Universal Plus, and as you've seen before, he is also MFTL. I would argue MFTL Plus. In fact, it actually goes even deeper than that, because while I was doing research, I found something very interesting. So in Bleach, there is a character named Shunsui and his lieutenant Nanaho that battled the literal god of light within the Bleach universe, Lil Baro. And at one point, you have these characters moving faster than their own shadows. So when the character was trying to use his light to erase all the shadows, so Shunsui could not use one of his special techniques, which involved shadows, which was allowing him to dodge his undodgeable sniper rifle attacks, he had to literally move faster than his own shadow, essentially. And I looked into this, and it actually turns out that the ability to do that is actually way faster than you think. It actually would require infinite levels of speed to even be able to move faster than your own shadow before a ray of light is able to even reflect the shadow, if that makes any sense. I will leave sources for this, but it really puts into perspective just how immeasurably busted speed in the Bleach universe is. Like I said, you had MFTL Ichigo as early as the Soul Society arc. And there's one more thing I really need people, especially Death Battle, to understand when it comes to Bleach power scaling, and especially Ichigo himself. And I will let this video explain it.
A lot of people think that power scaling gets awkward in Bleach, but there is one crucial piece of information some tend to forget. We know that Ichigo in Soul Society arc was powerful enough to go toe-to-toe with Byakuya. Keep in mind he was always among stronger captains. And in the Hueco Mundo arc, he defeated Espada number 7 without breaking a sweat. Would have been instant if he wasn't arrogant and immediately activated his Bankai. Ichigo, on the other hand, had problems with Espada even with a hollow mask. There is no doubt that at the time, Byakuya was more powerful, and there is a reason behind it. Post-SS arc, Ichigo used Combat Pass to access his Shinigami form, which limited his strength. There is not an exact number, but if it's similar to what captains have when they go to the real world, that would put Ichigo at about 20% strength, maybe a bit more. If that's the case, that would explain all the power-ups we thought we saw throughout the series. Characters didn't get much stronger, it's just that SS arc Ichigo was pretty damn strong already, and it just took a while for him to be that strong again with Combat Pass limiting him.
Now, I've got to point out here that Senpai is kind of underselling here just a little bit. Because he wasn't just able to fight on the same level as Byakuya, he was more powerful than Byakuya. Because before he even fought Byakuya, he speed blitzed and one-shotted 3 lieutenants before even using Bankai. And then, when he finally did unleash his Bankai against Byakuya, he showed Byakuya that he could have killed him anytime he wanted when he went up and put his blade to his neck. That was him telling Byakuya, I can kill you anytime that I want. I'm stronger than you, I'm faster than you, but I'm not here to kill you, I'm here to beat some sense into you. So, yeah, he was far more powerful. And the thing that needs to be understood about the Combat Pass is I can remember, and if I can find a source for this, I'll post it here, but I can remember that in Bleach they said that Ichigo's Combat Pass is very similar and equivalent to the eye patch that Kenny has, which we know limits his power. And if you want to go off of the 20% thing, then you can do that too. That means that throughout a large chunk of the anime, all the way up until Ichigo gained his Vasto Lourdes resurrection form in his battle against Ulquiorra, up until then, the Combat Pass was limiting his power. That means that throughout a large chunk of the series, Ichigo was only operating at 20% his strength. And of course, in Naruto vs. Ichigo, Death Battle completely ignores this. But no matter how you look at it, Ichigo is so much more powerful than Yusuke, and it's not even close. Even if you were to really try to lowball Ichigo, it just falls apart. And from my analysis, I would say Ichigo should take this. Realistically, Ichigo should be able to one-shot and speed blitz Yusuke before he even realizes what happens. And here's the thing, and I've talked about this before, but the main reason why losing the speed advantage, especially to this wide of a freaking gap, because at best, Yusuke is FTL, maybe FTL plus if you want to highball him. Ichigo is MFTL plus. The gap is massive in how much more faster that he is. And losing the speed advantage is never good, because here's the reason why. When you lose the speed advantage, it basically makes it impossible to ever land any kind of blow on your opponent. Not to mention, it guarantees that you won't even be able to see your opponent's movements. If you realistically tried to fight somebody as fast as Ichigo, he would have you cut in half before you even realized what happened, and you wouldn't even see it. That is what would realistically happen to Yusuke here. Here's an analogy for you. If you're not understanding what I'm talking about, look up why a snake can never, ever, ever beat a cat in a fight. Because a cat's reflexes is twice as good as a snake's. So as a result, the snake can never win against the cat, to the point where cats will literally walk up to snakes and treat them like a toy, because no matter how hard the snake fights, the snake will never be able to land a hit on the cat, and the cat will always hit the snake before it even has a chance to even try to hit the cat. That's what would happen here. This fight right here is a snake trying to fight a cat. And no matter what you try to do, Ichigo wins. It's just really that simple. And to anybody else who doesn't seem to fully comprehend this, among the big three, Bleach is king. Bleach is the more powerful between Naruto and One Piece, and it's not even close. And I know this is going to piss off the DBZ fanboys, but I don't care. It needs to be said. Bleach characters can absolutely take Dragon Ball characters in a fight. So, deal with that. So, yeah. But, as I mentioned before, you can't always count on Battle to be just honest and only go off of the research. Because not only is there the low ball thing, but there's the thing of, up until now, Death Battle, just like with Shadow the Hedgehog, Death Battle just loves fucking with Bleach and disrespecting Bleach. And for a time, Bleach just kind of took it up the ass and would just put up with all of this bullying. But ever since the return of the anime, Bleach fans have finally had enough and have been speaking out saying, no, motherfuckers, Bleach is more powerful than you think. Bleach has characters like Yuha, Grimmy, Pernita, Gerard, Valkyrie. You ain't fucking with those guys. There are Dragon Ball Z characters that can't fuck with those guys. You know how people try to say that Green Lanterns have the power of imagination? Well, there's a character in Bleach who quite literally has the power of imagination. Don't fuck with Bleach. This is why I say compatibility is everything. And this is what happens when you base your matchup on, oh, well, they're both teenagers that fight ghosts. Like, no. Honestly, I would have much rather Ichigo fought Danny Phantom, because at least Danny Phantom could realistically fight Ichigo. Yusuke cannot. What the fuck is Yusuke going to do to Ichigo? I ask you. And I don't mean this in any disrespectful way, Yu Yu Hakusho fans, but Death Battle is really doing your boy Yusuke wrong. Like, when Death Battle had Hiei fight that little bitch Sasuke, okay, yeah, obviously Hiei was gonna win that one. But also, Naruto is a little bit more on Yu Yu Hakusho's level. Bleach, on the other hand, Bleach completely bullies. Ichigo could literally go into the Yu Yu Hakusho universe and solo everybody with absolutely no difficulty. Now, there is a chance that Death Battle might be biased and have Ichigo lose anyway, because I could remember way back when Ben Singer was talking about this, he felt that this was an unfair stomp in Yusuke's favor, because back when Death Battle was on their bullshit of, oh, Ichigo's not planet level, he's like maybe around country level. You know, Yuha wasn't even a planet buster, and even though he absorbed the powers of the being that created his entire cosmology, but no, he's not even planet level. But yeah, no. So, my prediction for this is Ichigo should win, and I will accept no other outcome, and you can bet that if Death Battle fucks this up and fucks over Ichigo again, I'm going to be there to completely destroy you, Death Battle. Please, Death Battle, be that stupid. Keep trying to poke the bear of the Bleach fan base, because I can assure you, the Bleach fan base is done taking everybody's fucking shit. We already had to deal with the Naruto fan base bullying us for years now, and I don't know why it's been deemed okay to disrespect and lowball Bleach, but Bleach is one of the more powerful anime universes. But I will put it to you guys this way. If you look at the power scaling, Ichigo should win, but if you want to factor in Death Battle shenanigans, there's a chance that they could have Yusuke win on some bullshit. Like, for example, here's something I need people to keep in mind. Yusuke has this little ability where it's tied to his emotions. It's like some kind of like empath multiplier, where the stronger his emotions are, the more powerful he can become throughout a fight. So they could try to pull some bullshit no limits fallacy bullshit like they try to do with Superman, where they could say, oh, well, Yusuke's power just kept climbing and climbing and climbing. Never mind the fact that that would change the fact that this fight would be over in a matter of seconds. But, of course, Death Battle is going to try to get some cheap spectacle out of it. Now, another thing I'm going to predict is I predict that it is highly unlikely that this is going to be a good episode, because just going off of what I've seen from the animation, it's just sprite animation, and it doesn't even look like it's going to be good sprite animation, because, yeah, I mean, I'll admit if I'm wrong, but this is even good sprite animation. Like, for example, as much as I hated Makoto Misaka versus Killua, at least I could say, you know what? Even though it's a sprite animation, this is damn good sprite animation, and sprite animation that actually tries to mimic anime art style. So that's kind of cool, but with these sprites, it literally just looks like some Mugen shit. And that's no disrespect to Mugen, but that's just what it looks like. It looks like to me that this just proves to me that Death Battle still does not respect Bleach, because even after all this time, Bleach still can't get a 3D fight. Bleach still can't get a hand-drawn fight. This tells me that Death Battle is not going to respect Bleach because they don't even want to put in the effort to give Ichigo a good fight. They're not giving him a good opponent. This is likely a pity matchup where they're just going to feed Yusuke to Ichigo. And the whole thing is just likely going to be a shit show. Now, this is just a prediction. If I end up being wrong, I will fully admit that I am wrong. I would very much like to be wrong, because all I want as a Bleach fan is I just want Bleach to get some damn respect. I don't think that's too much to ask for, you know? Like, I'm going to talk about this in future videos, and like I mentioned before, with Yugi versus Ash, you can say what you want, Pokemon fans, about that death battle, even if they did lowball the characters, which I don't believe that they did, at least not in the way that you think. They still gave Ash a respectable end. Now the question is, are they going to do that for Yusuke or Ichigo or whoever ends up winning? So yeah, that's kind of just my thoughts. So once again, a quick recap. Ichigo is Universal Plus to MFTL Plus, likely somewhere in the multiversal ranges, and Yusuke is Large Planet level with Highball and maybe MFTL Plus, but more likely he is just planetary to FTL. So my money is going to be on Ichigo, and no, I'm not just saying that because I'm a Bleach fan. But that's just kind of my thoughts on that. And there's one more thing I want to talk about. Though we don't know who's writing the episode yet, it could end up being Liam Swan. And if it is, I have a little theory here. And you can call conspiracy theory on me if you want, but here's what I'm thinking here. If Liam Swan is in any way involved with this episode, like he was with Madara versus Aizen, I think there's a good chance that Liam Swan possibly knows that Light versus Columbo is just his personal vanity project and people aren't going to be down with it, and that it might end up being his magnum opus, something potentially worse than Madara versus Aizen. So, because he wants to do this so badly, he's like, hey, Wiz, Boomstick, can we do a death battle that's, like, really going to be controversial, that will get any heat off of Light versus Columbo, because I don't want Light versus Columbo to be laughed at and considered the worst death battle of the season? That's what I think could be going on here, if Liam Swan is going to be involved. Because Liam Swan is responsible for Madara vs. Aizen, but he was not responsible for Naruto vs. Ichigo. But that's just something to consider. And again, I looked into this, I don't know who's writing this one, but I will say this, if the God Emperor is behind this one, then oh boy, are we going to be in for a treat. It's not going to be a very good treat, but it's going to be a treat nonetheless, even if it basically is going to be the equivalent of puking on a pile of shit. But we'll see how it turns out. And this is my thoughts on Ichigo versus Yusuke. But of course, this is just my prediction. Definitely leave in the comments down below, who do you think is going to win? Do you got your money on Ichigo, or do you got your money on Yusuke? And what do you think? Do you think the episode is going to be good? Bad? What do you think? Because I remember the season finale, not the season finale, the season premiere of last year's season of Death Battle, Omni-Man versus Bardock, ended up being the second coming of Goku versus Superman, and that was by design. So, I have a question. will this be the second coming of Naruto versus Ichigo, or could, heaven forbid, could this end up being on par or worse than Madara versus Aizen? Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys around next time.
Sometimes I feel a voice in my head saying the world is dead and it's taking me back.